Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1751B, and today's date is December 27th, 2018, and the title of the episode is Mainstream Media Fell for It. Everything is going as planned. Timing is everything. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, as we can see, the government shutdown is continuing right now. And we see that Sarah Sanders, she was out there and she said that, the White House, Trump, we really don't want the government shut down, but we want the Democrats, we want these individuals to say, hey, yes, we need border security, we need a wall. Trump tweeted out the following: have the Democrats finally realized that we desperately need border security and a wall on the southern border? Need to stop drugs, human trafficking, gang members, and criminals from coming into our country. Do the Dems realize that most of the people not getting paid are Democrats? And we can see that Trump is still holding out, but we know that Trump has a backup plan. And I just want to correct myself because a lot of people were writing in, and I looked it up, and yes, this is true. Once the House passes a bill and it passes to the Senate, and we have a change in Congress where a new Senate and a new House comes in, the bill is then dead. The Senate cannot vote on it. It has to go back to the House. And then it gets reissued a new number, and the House then has to vote on it, and then it goes to the Senate. And I think what Trump is doing right now, he is trying to push the narrative that they don't want border security. They don't want a wall. They're happy with drugs coming in. They're happy with human trafficking coming in. And he continually says, border security wants a wall. Everybody wants a wall. Look at the GoFundMe page for those people who want the wall. I think it's up to $17 million just in 9 days. And Trump has always had a backup plan. And we have to refer to Post 2582. And let me just read this. It says, and this is December 11th, 2018. Wow, what a show. President Trump on Tuesday engaged in extraordinary argument with Democrat congressional leaders over his demand for border wall funding, threatening a government shutdown if he does not get the money. And this is when Pelosi, Schumer was in his office. This is when the TV cameras came in, and they were discussing this in front of the news reporters, which Pelosi and Schumer didn't expect the news reporters to be there, but it seemed like that Trump invited them in. And then the Annan continued and went back to a previous post back in March 23rd, 2018, and it says clock activated, Red Castle, Green Castle, stage 5x5. Why? And this is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Green Castle, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, building strong, Red Castle. And under this, Q says the following: you will not win, Pelosi. You didn't think the largest military spending bill in history for year 2019 wasn't going to indirectly include funding for the wall, did you? Learn the Constitution, vested powers of POTUS, matters of national security. This was planned and forecasted as the border funding solution from the beginning. So all of this right now is just putting the narrative out there to get people to understand that border security is very, very important. Showing everyone that many of the people around the country, and there's polls that show that people want border security. Just look at the GoFundMe pages of people who are building ladders for the illegals to get over the wall, where they only had something like $140,000 or maybe $170,000 compared to people who want the wall, and that's up to $17 million in almost the same time span. Let me continue. Annans had the proof long ago, but shining a light back then would have defeated the primary purpose of showing the public the real objective of D's, Party of Open Borders. Eliminate ICE, eliminate security, defend illegals over Americans. Midterm elections. These people are stupid. So really, this whole thing is already done, and it's going to be done with military spending. Right now, this is part of the show, showing everyone how they don't want border security, that they're happy that drugs are coming in, that human trafficking is going on, that illegals get to come in and the U.S. taxpayer has to spend billions of dollars to support them, to fund them. and continually showing the American people that, listen, they are against it completely. And they're happy with all this happening. And this is why he's doing it. So we can see once the new year comes, it's all said and done. It seems that Giuliani is out there right now, and he's saying that Special Counsel Robert Mueller needs to be investigated for destruction of FBI evidence. And he's saying that Mueller decided to wipe out all the text messages from former FBI Strzok and Page, which we discussed before. And he said Mueller should be investigated for destruction of evidence for allowing those text messages from Strzok to be erased, messages that would show the state of mind and tactics of his lead anti-Trump FBI agent at the start of this probe. That should be investigated. That should be investigated fully. You want a special counsel, get one for that. So Giuliani was talking about what happened with Richard Nixon. He said, this is worse than the tapes that were erased by Nixon's secretary a half a century earlier. And Rosemary Woods erased 19 minutes of a conversation, but the FBI today, present day, got rid of more than 19,000 messages. So there's no problem with that, but there's a problem with the secretary erasing 19 minutes of a conversation. Well, this is 19,000 messages of a conversation, and this is evidence. And guess what? Mueller should be held responsible. There should be investigation into this. Now, Judicial Watch is out there, and they announced today that it obtained more than 100 pages of previously classified secret documents from the Department of Defense, revealing that the DoD almost immediately reported that the attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi was committed by the Al-Qaeda and Muslim Brotherhood-linked brigades of the captive Omar Abdul Rahman, BCOAR, and had been planned at least 10 days in advance. Rahman is known as the Blind Sheik and is serving life in prison for his involvement in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing and other terrorist acts. The new document also provides the first official confirmation that shows U.S. government was aware of arms shipments from Benghazi to Syria. The documents also include an August 2012 analysis warning of the rise of the Islamic State and predicted failure of the Obama policy regime change in Syria. The documents were released in response to a court order in accordance with the May 15, 2014 Freedom of Information Act lawsuit filed against the Department of Defense and State Department seeking communications between the two agencies and congressional leaders on matters related to the activities of any agency or department of the U.S. government at the Special Mission Compound or Classified Annex in Benghazi. Now, the Defense Intelligence Agency stated September 12, 2012, the day after the Benghazi attack, details that the attack on the compound had been carefully planned by the BOCAR terrorist group to kill as many Americans as possible. Gee, do you think this terrorist group was the paid mercenary army of the intelligence organizations and Obama and the deep state? Of course it was. The document was sent to then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, then Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the Obama White House National Security Council. The heavily redacted Defense Department information report says that the attack on the Benghazi facility was planned and executed by these individuals. They knew what was happening, and now Judicial Watch is getting the proof. Everything is coming down around these people. We have Huber, Horowitz, and this other investigator that is working on Clinton. We also have Judicial Watch doing the work. This is happening all at the same time. We also have those individuals that are looking into the Clinton Foundation. I mean, think about how many individuals are working against the Clintons, Obama, and the deep state. all investigating all of this all at the same time. We see NBC News and the rest of the mainstream media, well, they took the bait and they ran with it. They put out an article, Trump becomes first president since 2002 not to visit troops at Christmas time. Well, that was completely wrong. They put the article out there, and what did Trump do? Well, he flew out to Iraq. He flew out to see the troops. It was top secret. It was planned weeks ahead of time. It's not like he just hopped onto a plane and decided to go out there. I know a lot of the mainstream media is saying, oh, since we put that out there, it forced him to go out there. No. Security was in place. They planned this for weeks in advance, and they went out there. The mainstream media was kept in the dark. Remember, before the mainstream media, they were getting all their information from the intelligence organizations. Now, they lost that feed. They have no idea what's going on. They were in the dark. The people that were on Air Force One, they were in the dark. They had no idea where they were going. And he visited the troops. Now, what's very interesting, and I just checked this today, they did not change the headline. It still says Trump becomes first president since 2002 not to visit troops at Christmas time. Now, down below it, what they did was they added an editor's note. On Wednesday, a day after this article was published, President Trump made a surprise visit to Iraq to greet U.S. troops. It was his first presidential visit to a combat zone. But they left the main article exactly the same. No correction there. So anyone that comes to this who doesn't read the whole story is going to say, wow, he didn't visit the troops, which is fake, phony, and false. So you can see that after this, he went to other places. He went to Ramstein Air Base in Germany when he was en route back to Washington, D.C. to meet the troops there. He took many photographs. Now, CNN, they went a little crazy because the troops there, they brought their MAGA hats, and they wanted Trump to sign this. And they were making a big deal that, oh, this is against the Hatch Act. Oh, this is not right. He might have brought the hats himself and handed them out. Well, that's fake, and that's fake. The troops brought their own hats. Actually, the White House is out there now saying it. We did not supply them hats. They had these hats. Trump decided to autograph them. This is not against any type of guidelines. I mean, CNN was out there, and they said, the guidelines say the following: active duty personnel may not engage in partisan political activities, and all military personnel shall avoid the interface that their political activities imply or appear to imply Department of Defense sponsorship, approval, or endorsement of political candidate, campaign, or cause. What they forgot to do is they left out the other part of the regulations. They left out active duty members may, however, express their personal opinions on political candidates and issues, make monetary contributions to political campaign organizations, and attend political events as a spectator when not in uniform. And what's funny about this is Obama, when he was visiting the troops, he was signing hats, magazine covers, and everything else. And guess what? The mainstream media didn't have a problem with this. Actually, the Air Force came out and they made a statement. Nothing improper with airmen's pro-Trump merchandise at Ramstein. They didn't break any rules or any laws or anything like this. I mean, why would the mainstream media, well, we know why, but don't you think it's strange that the mainstream media comes out and they're trying to catch Trump in something when they've never done this to any other president? Instead of saying, wow, he went out and he visited the troops, wishing them a Merry Christmas, and meeting all of them and saying thank you. No, they don't want to do that. So we see out in Saudi Arabia, there was a huge cabinet reshuffle. Saudi King Salman, he established a space agency. He demoted the foreign minister, and they shook things up in Saudi Arabia. And we have to remember this was all because of Khashoggi. What happened, this was a complete and utter setup. Trump didn't fall for the bait, and it looks like the deep state their plan didn't work out in that instance. We see the U.S. is offering safety, job security to Taliban. They're trying to push the peace deal, and they're trying to push it forward. And I think eventually what's going to happen, this peace process in Afghanistan will work once we start to remove all those deep state operatives out of there, just like in Syria. And the U.S. right now, they are removing the troops, and they're not coming out tomorrow, but they're going to be a slow withdrawal of the troops from Syria. This has been planned for a very long time. This just didn't pop up. Trump actually mentioned this back in the summer, where he said that we're going to be bringing the troops home. So they've been planning this for quite a while. And basically he was saying that we're no longer the suckers, folks, he told the troops when he was speaking to them. We're respected again as a nation. I made it clear from the beginning that our mission in Syria was to strip ISIS of its military strongholds. 8 years ago, we went there for 3 months and we never left. Now, we're doing it right. We're going to finish it off. He further reiterated that the U.S. presence in Syria was never aimed at being open-ended, despite all the claims from James Jeffrey, U.S. Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis, John Bolton, and the rest. Those are all the neocons and the leftovers. That was their mission. Remember, the deep state, they're still trying to push their goal. The deep state still has positions in certain areas. Bolton was brought on for a specific purpose, to keep the mainstream media busy with Bolton, with him talking about what's going to happen, which is completely the opposite of what's going to happen. And Trump said that he gave U.S. generals multiple 6-month extensions to get out of Syria. Trump said of the generals, they said again recently, can we have more time? He said, absolutely not. You cannot have any more time. You had enough time. We've knocked them out. We've knocked them silly. We're done here. And we have to remember, the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, these are the paid mercenary army of the intelligence organizations, of the coalition forces of the UK, of Israel, of all these individuals, these countries, Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, who are trying to get into Syria and remove Assad. It has not worked. The deep state reign is coming to an end. This is why, if you listen to these individuals like Clinton and the rest, they still want us to be in war. They're contradicting everything that's happening out in Syria. It's a bad thing if we're being pulled out of Syria. The deep state started all the wars. The deep state tricked us into going to Iraq, Libya, Lebanon, Syria, under false pretenses. They should all be brought up on charges. They lied to the American people. And then they kept us there, tricking us once again, saying that Al-Qaeda was trying to remove their puppet governments, when it was really the people of the country who wanted the puppet government out. We see Russia and Turkey right now. They're holding high-level talks on Syria. And again, Erdogan takes orders from Putin. Erdogan is not going to do anything to upset what Putin has already done in Syria. And again, Russia is there because Russia was invited in by Assad, the elected leader of a sovereign country. All the rest, France, the deep state, UK, all those forces invaded a sovereign country. And when the sovereign country said, please remove yourself, they didn't listen because they had a mission, they had a goal. And Russia right now is arguing that Assad should get back the U.S. held territory. Once the U.S. leaves, it should all come back to Assad. Now, will it? We'll have to wait and see, because remember, there are still coalition forces in this area. And they're not going to let it go that easily. Just because the U.S. forces aren't there doesn't mean it's vacant. We also see the United Arab Emirates. Well, after 7 years, it looks like they officially reopened its embassy in Damascus and will be doing business with Assad's government. Everything is changing right now. Timing is everything. And as we move into 2019, you can see a lot of things become active. The budget for 2019 becomes active. The executive order, January 1st, becomes active. The Senate is sworn in on January 3rd, and it becomes active to handle all the investigations, to handle everything that's coming down the pike. All the indictments and everything else will become active. The placeholders are set. Everything is going as planned. Remember, to have a fair trial, because this is what we want, with real evidence presented, you cannot have the corrupt deep state in their positions. It has to be drained first of those individuals. Certain judges have to be removed. Certain FBI agents have to be removed. Certain individuals in the CIA have to be removed. The prisons have to be set up and ready to accept prisoners. The court system has to be cleaned out. Positions within government, positions around the world need to be cleaned out. And the deep state has been there for quite a while. And it takes time to get these individuals out of the way. And remember, we have those individuals that are meaningless, which they were just carrying out orders, and there are other individuals that go deeper and deeper down, and some individuals we probably don't even know of, where I'm assuming they have indictments on those individuals where they were doing many other things that we just don't know about. We just know those individuals on the top level and maybe down a little bit below that. But there are other individuals, and it's going to go all the way to the central bank and the control of the central bank. Yes, those people that you see, on camera and all that, those are the front line. There's others behind that. It's almost like when they put out who are the richest people in the world. If you notice, they never mention the Rothschilds. They never say, well, the Rothschilds, they're the richest people in the world. They always go to Gates or Oprah or any of those individuals, because the people behind the scenes, they don't want to be recognized. They don't want anyone to know about them. So they stay behind the curtain. They stay in the dark, so you don't know who they are. That brings up a point. Another reason for dark to light. Bringing those individuals out of the dark and bringing them into the light. Those individuals that people don't even know about. Those individuals that work behind the scenes. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.